Hello and welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles in partnership with Movie Maker magazine. My name is Danny DeLillo. We're here at the South Park Center. I'm delighted to be reunited with Jess with her feature film, her amazing feature film, Surrender. Let's take a little clip.
Changing 1,000. Good luck to you.
Jess, we're back.
We are back, and I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so happy to have you here. You had your feature. How does it feel?
Unreal, and I'm so excited. Honestly, it's been such a journey, and it has transformed me as a person entirely.
Oh my goodness. Oh, well, listen, I mean, we sat in this chair and you said there was going to be a feature version, and here we are. So with Surrender, how do you describe the feature to an audience that haven't seen it before?
Yeah, let's start with that. Surrender is a feature fiction drama, and it focuses on a young Asian American woman who wrestles with a gambling addiction. And so we explore various topics within the film. Its core through line is about problem gambling and the protagonist's, strong ties to the game. And the secondary themes deal with issues such as, dementia, Alzheimer's, what it means to be a caregiver to an elderly within the Asian community and being in an Asian family. So I explore 3 generations of women, a grandmother, mother, and daughter, and how their dynamic really forms over the course of time, but also exploring each of their struggles and their arcs. So,
I mean, Jess, I'm not just saying this because we love you at New Filmmakers, but this film was brilliant. I mean, it really was, and super proud of you for making this film, because there's multiple layers in why this film was not only wonderful to watch as a piece of entertainment, but brilliant stories, incredible characters, and really important subjects that we haven't seen and don't see, particularly through this 3 generation and the lens of the characters that you presented with us. It's been quite a journey, isn't it, making this film, right? Like, how was that sort of step up from making, the short version and then going into the feature version? How was that in that whole writing process and actually even extending the stories and the characters in more depth the way you always wanted to?
Thank you for that question. That's such a thoughtful question. And, making a film of any kind is challenging and fulfilling. And for me, making the short film as a proof of concept, was the foundation for the feature. However, the main core difference is that the short film was focused on a character wrestling with what it felt like to relapse after 100 days of abstinence. And while that was true and important for the short version of the story, for me, it was important to develop the feature in a way where I could explore the character of Naomi, the core protagonist of the film.
We love you. You were so good. Yes.
And, what she was exploring throughout, meaning, yes, taking her and building her as a high-functioning individual and her having a full-formed life, a romantic relationship, a job, and also, very involved with her family. And so extending it from a short to feature is challenging in the sense that, we're talking about duration, but it's also like for me as a writer director, I'm always interested in exploring how can I have each person on set and also within the audience care about the primary character and the secondary characters.
Yeah.
And the responsibility of care being that in everything the character is going through, there has to be an arc and an intention and a reasoning behind it. And so I would say that there are really, I see it as, that each piece always has care, but at the same time, the development of a short to feature, it's just so much greater in the expansion of what does it mean to make an indie feature? Well, it needs a lot more resources and tools and people and support. And that's sort of a given. But I think emotionally, it also takes a lot more strength mentally, right? Because it's like I'm also living with this topic of primarily gambling addiction and centering the topic for a longer period of time. But there's more of a runway for exploration and discovery, which I just loved, right? As this was my first feature, there are a lot of takeaways and I say that with a lot of heart, because I think I've had this feature idea and brewing in my mind for years. And with that came this idea of, I want to make the feature and I can't wait to do it. And I can't wait to do it. But now it's like, here I am on the other side saying, I'm so grateful, and I'm so grateful to have done it. And at the same time, wow, I still have so much more to learn as a writer director, right? And the lessons that I took from this movie, from my cast members, my teammates, have strengthened me as a writer director, but more so just as a person and as a human.
How wonderful to experience all of that, Jess, from the film, and it's everything you hope for and more. There's so much. I think one thing you feel throughout the entire film is this love, and how love can hurt, how love is painful to sometimes watch, but when people change the way we don't want them to change, in all circumstances, whether it be through dementia or through relationship, you really just captured a lot of these dynamics, and you kind of left this in a place where you saw at every given time, everyone was hurting at some point through the love of something or a person.
Right.
And I love that you took us to that depth of the human emotion, because it's hard when we see people go through things, isn't it? And you gave us the depth to allow us to stay in moments with characters, and you really gave such a fairness to your entire ensemble that we all got to be with them personally and experience what they were going through. And I just love that you didn't make it for a sort of one-dimensional. It was very across the spectrum. You saw everybody's experience from both sides. Was that always kind of your intention?
It was the intention. Yeah. The intention was that, each character was built out in a way, but, I think it's very true to the human experience and the way that life is, right? Like life is very challenging. And I think that there's a posture of, wanting to kind of be in the world to say, well, everything is fine and I'm fine. And I think there can sometimes be a disconnect with the way people, especially myself, I'll just speak from my experience, have represented myself, when I'm like what I want people to see me as or know me as versus, well, this is my truth and I am struggling right now with this issue or this issue. And I think that for me, I want Surrender to be a story where it opens up conversations, but it's also rooted in the truth of other people beyond my own, right? So like a character with dementia, I myself am not going through that. However, I think from observing my grandmother, who inspired the role of Grandme in this story, I was able to sort of extract some of what I was observing and then, fictionalize other elements to make a roundabout character. But yeah, I think there's always a responsibility, a social responsibility in filmmaking. Media itself is such a powerful tool, but I believe that film is a universal language, right? It has the power to connect people. And at the core, that excites me because I'm like, wait, with that comes a lot of thoughtfulness. And I try to bring that into my process.
And you did. And, and I think as much as this is definitely a universal story, lots of people can relate to, but it was refreshing to see it centered around, as you said about the short, we haven't seen it particularly centered around a female, an Asian American female through the lens of her experience, her family experience with her mother and her grandmother. It was so refreshing to see that, this central figure lead this story. That obviously is something very important to you.
As an Asian American female, I feel that it is my responsibility and my commitment to reshape the stereotype of what an Asian female in media looks like, right? For me, I've certainly experienced hard things, and I continue to experience hard things and go through those situations. But at the same time, my question has always been, well, I want to create a sense of rawness in the filmmaking work that I'm doing, which has become actually more of a priority in my work, where I think when I was younger, I had this voice in my head that was almost saying, do the thing that you believe will sell or that people want. So I was sort of like chasing what other people wanted, or my idea of what other people wanted. And because this story just required so much vulnerability of myself, but also exploring these social topics, right? That I wanted to be authentic. For me, I just had to get to a place where I had to sort of negotiate with myself, like, you need to be a writer and director that is going to hopefully lead well, but not be afraid of truth and not be afraid of exploring the issues that are often silenced.
Yeah. Well, you're doing it, Jess. Just so you know, you're doing it. You're not even trying to do it. You're doing
Thank you
it.
so
Okay.
much,
And you are such a leader in your vision of that. And this film was, an important component to what is important to your soul and who you are. I'm not going to understate this, but I am. No, not really. I'm obsessed with your actors. Like, obsessed. Like, with everybody. They're all so amazing.
They are.
Like, how do you bring this? I mean, obviously we know some of the cast from the short, but what was it like as a director working with these incredible human beings? What was this process like? Tell us all about it, Jess.
Oh gosh, that's also another great question, Danny. I love my cast too. And, this was truly an indie feature. There was so much love that went into this project. And like you said, a lot of my cast members, were attached to Surrender, the short film, and they continued the journey with me into the feature space. So of course we have the lovely Andrea Bang, who plays the lead role of Naomi, who also starred in the short film.
And you're amazing, okay? You're amazing.
Andrea is fantastic.
Yeah.
She is incredibly grounded as a person. She has the intellect and intuition of someone where I can trust her completely, not just as a performer, but as a friend, as a dear friend of mine. And we're able to, take a scene, kind of deconstruct, like, what is the root intention of the scene? How can we get there? We have open feedback, So Andrea, I approached her early on and I said, I really would like to do this feature film with you. What do you think? And when I had asked her, I actually didn't have my feature script yet.
You're like, but I need you.
But I want you. And I was so certain about that because of how fruitful our working relationship was on Surrender, the short film. And over time, I was showing her the progress of the script, and I was doing that because I wanted her to know I was committed to making this project move forward. And at each step, we would sort of casually check in, and I would let her know, well, this is where I'm at. And it was just very open, very transparent. And at a certain point, I actually had a script to share with her. She saw various versions of it, which led to me actually asking her if she would be interested and, interested in helping me by executive producing the picture.
Amazing.
Yeah. And so she came on board originally as a cast member, and then it just developed into something greater. And so I wanted to start with painting that picture of Andrea, because then I think from Andrea, it was also the surrounding cast members where Andrea and I would have a lot of conversations. Is this person right for the role? And Andrea herself, serving as an EP on the project, recommended a few people, which eventually, we ended up casting in the movie. So it truly was collaboration, but a lot of the cast members came through recommendations and, we held some casting sessions, but it was very apparent when we landed with every single cast member that is in the film, their commitment to the story, what they brought to the characters and what we discovered together. Although Surrender is what I would say a heavy movie in terms of the topics we're exploring, I really tried to also infuse a culture on set that had moments of play and rest, and so
you
that
took care of your actors. Yeah.
I really wanted to, because I felt that I was also hoping that we could achieve so much together, in the sense of, okay, I wrote this piece, I wrote this line of dialogue, but you know what, if you're open, what else can we discover? Maybe we can detach from those words. And, there was kind of some room for a little improv. And that's what I love about my cast, is that we were so aligned and tracking with one another throughout the process. And, like an indie film,
Yeah.
it's a very tight schedule.
It's a very tight, yeah. Just like, is there like, did you ever have those moments even when you're on set? Like, this is your first feature, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you be like, I am directing my first feature. I'm on set right now. Like, I work at these. Do you ever get those moments when you're like in it? It was.
Yes, 100%. Every day I had those moments, and I would journal quite a bit of how I was feeling throughout the process.
Yeah.
From day 1 until day 18, because we had 18 days of principal photography, and I wanted to ensure that I could remember and go back to the way I felt.
Yeah.
In that, because it's such a particular feeling. Like I'm talking about the excitement, but also, looking around the room, looking around the set, and thinking to myself, wow, everyone showed up for this film today.
Yeah.
And they keep continuing to show up. And there's so much, it was just such a powerful moment. And I received it. But at the same time, of course, moments of disbelief also came to the surface, mainly because I understand that it's so difficult to make a film, let alone an indie feature film. And I never wanted to take that for granted. And even through the festival run now, like I said last night, every yes that I got along the way felt like such a win, because it was that. And I wanted to emphasize each moment.
Yeah. Well, you deserve this, Jess. I mean, it also is credit to your character as well, because you don't take it for granted, and you do value all of these important moments and value people, and that's why everyone wants to work with you. You see, that's why everyone came back, and that's credit to you and the how you make people feel,
thank you, Danny.
On set. So no surprise there. But like, what is it? You're beginning your kind of festival run now. I mean, it was. I mean, I was literally like a proud mom last night. Like I was like so happy because, there's many people that say, I'm going to go and turn this into something. And, and some do, some don't, but you did it, and you did it in a very short space of time. What's the experience been like releasing your feature film baby to the world? Like how has that experience been for you so far?
Oh gosh, the experience has been fun. There's a lot of joy involved. And I'm so glad to hear that the film is being received well, right? For me, I went to this film and I told myself, if one person is impacted by this movie, I will feel that my job has been fulfilled, right? I would feel fulfilled as a person and as a maker, And so, I'm really riding the wave of being in conversations with people, different festivals, sharing the film, and getting to meet a lot of people that I wouldn't have met otherwise. And so that has been such a turning point, I believe. Every connection for me, I'm sort of like, okay, I'm meeting this person at this time for a reason. And I truly believe that in my career path and aside from my career as well. And so, but it is so wild when I have moments where I think to myself, this dream that I wanted to achieve for a long time since my days at USC in grad school have now happened. And it was not at all an easy process. I'm thankful for every, foundation, grant support, fellowship that I got that felt at the time like almost like this shortcut to, okay, this is now, you're in the HOV lane and now you're literally, going to make this feature. And at every step, it became more real. And in those moments too, when it became more real, it was almost like, wait, this is actually happening. So the night before production, I was in my house and I was just sitting there, and half of my house was the set for Surrender because my apartment was used as the character Naomi's apartment. And I just sat there and I looked around at the props and the equipment, and I said, wow, this is actually happening and it's starting tomorrow. And I'm just so full of gratitude, and also for allowing I owe a lot of credit to my family, my mother and my grandmother especially, for allowing me access into their lives, to pulling parts of their stories into the film. So it was just a moment of collection. Like, I'm grateful. And then aside from that, for all the people, all the donations, all the gear, everything that is allowing us to actually move into production I've never felt anything like that in my life when it has come to my career, in terms of people championing me and the project. And it's just been so lovely. It really has been so lovely.
Well, I mean, honestly, you know, you care about people, and therefore people care about you, you know. And so, you know, that's, you know, again, a credit to you, Jess, and your lovely mother and grandmother that were able to share their stories as well with you and help you on that journey. Just to finalize, because it really is quite an interesting, you know, movement for any filmmaker, moving from your short to your feature. What kind of advice would you give to anyone going into that journey? What have you kind of learned from that particular experience? Because it's, you know, it's a big move.
It is a big move. You're absolutely right. I guess my one overarching piece of advice is to stick to your gut and hold on to the idea that you have. I think so often, right, from a short film, it's more contained. And so what that means is really you can, as a writer-director, you can make a lot of the core decisions. But I think once you're going into the feature space and you're pitching your project, or, you know, other people are giving feedback, which is also great. But I think I say hold on to your idea and vision, because it can be tough in moments if there's like money on the table and someone says, I'll give you this, but in exchange for that, I want you to switch out the cast member that you love, or I want to change the story in this way. So it's sort of like in any space, I believe that you have agency as especially, well, I'm actually talking to, you know, someone's trying to be an aspiring writer director and trying to move their short into a feature, and also aligning with the right team and people. Yeah. And it really is such a, so many highs and also challenges that come from making a feature, but it's so much greater in that, you know, working with a team that is collaborative, but also like in it, like truly in it. They're not, you know, leaving after the day's over, but it's almost like they're checking in also of like, how are you doing? How is the day? Let's give a recap on this and that. And I think it just helps the overall morale of a film, absolutely, you know, because everyone works so hard in this space for in the indie feature space.
And that's why, you know, you lead in the impact, because I think just having that authenticity and that care on set is super, super important, because look at the result that you get, you know. I want to say a big thank you. Obviously, you know how proud we are of you. We know it's going to be the first of many features. You know, enjoy this journey first, and then we'll look to the next one.
Thank you, Danny.
But enjoy this journey. You're very well deserving. And we're super proud of you. But thank you to everyone of your cast, crew, production of Surrender, and thank you to Jess.
Thank you, Danny. I appreciate you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate you too.